Hi, Mr. Barnes. This is Mia and Emily, and we're doing Impressionism. Um, I'm going to be talking about Impressionism sunset, and Mia is going to be talking about women with a parcel. Impressionism is a modernist movement that grew in the 19th century. Artists used small brushstroke patterns that created light and the sense of an image rather than specific detail. This changed the way we thought about art and perceived art. Instead of focusing on the individual details, Impressionists wanted to demonstrate that we don't just see objects, but rather the light that reflects off of them. Typically, the subject of an Impressionist painting is still clear and legible even at a distance.
Impressionism was largely seen as modernism because it was the beginning of the modernism movement, mainly because it was one of the first new artistic movements to reject the artistic ideas and forms that came before them in the pre-modern era. This was because most pre-modern art and artists viewed themselves as doing art in a service of God or a deity, and as a result, artists were far more interested in how they could display their inspiration on page rather than really being interested in artistic form for the sake of expanding artistic technique. Impressionists like Monet rejected the ideals of pre modern artistry by focusing on privileging artistic technique when they're expressing their ideas with little interest in divine inspiration. Therefore, when we look at modernist movements, we see artists become interested in the practice of art itself and exploring the form their art might take.
Monet's 1872 painting Impression Sunrise is one of the origins for the name of the movement. The painting was met by many critics, claiming that the cause of the title was just to cover up the lack of finality and detail of the piece. As this was early on in the Impressionist movement, the painting does not contain the recognizable distinct patterns that are swirl-like brushstrokes associated with Impressionism. However, it's still a depiction of the movement of light and passing of time of light reflects on the water and the sky. According to the What Was Modernism video, modernist art should stimulate thought and reflect on what art is, how it is viewed, and what art should do. The controversy in the Academy of Art surrounding Monet's Impression Sunrise achieves this exact conversation and questioning that modernity should.
In the next work of art we are going to examine, I'm talking about Woman with a Parasol, Madame Monet and Her Son, 1875. And so, as mentioned in the teacher's video, uh, from the iBook, Impressionists sought a new way to capture nature in art. They focused on a more natural and free approach to the artistic formatting, most notably by stopping the process of sketching while outdoors and then taking those sketches indoors to complete paintings based on that sketch in favor of taking all their oils and artistic materials out with them to paint in situation. They were really interested rather than catching nature as it appears to the human eye, but instead in capturing the ever changing colors and light that happens within nature. This was made possible, specifically the lack of sketching outdoors and then indoors, through the industrialization of art supplies during the modernist movement, because it easily allowed for the transportation of materials. So, this is why many Impressionist paintings, such as Monet's 1875 Woman with a Parasol, Madame Monet and Her Son, typically displayed nature, in this case as an outdoor outing, in a painting, almost seeming to be from a camera with a blurry lens due to the unrefined details of people and plants using vibrant colors. Like other Impressionist artists, Monet wanted to capture the spontaneity and natural blur of beauty in the moment. Through this approach, Monet aimed and was able to capture the feeling and visual stimulation of a casual family outing rather than the typical family portrait of others that were seen in the pre-modernism period. Monet achieved this through the casual body language of the woman in this picture, his wife, and his son, who both do not have defined facial features or stiff arm and leg placements. like the typical portraits, and instead they appeared to have suddenly looked back at Monet while he was observing the natural landscape around him. The casualty of the moment is displayed by a repertory of animated brushstrokes of vibrant color, an artistic style Monet was instrumental in forming, and which eventually helped define the technical approach and visual representation of what would become Impressionism.